Happy Monday, you Minties. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today as I take an advanced look at the X-Men Grand Design Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So please stay tuned. Now, before I get started taking a closer look at this omnibus, I did want to give a huge thank you to David Gabriel and Marvel Comics for sending us an advanced copy of the omnibus. The omnibus is due out in the direct market on August 26th. Meaning that you can buy it from places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, Tales of Wonder, In-Stock Trades, or your local comic book shop. So this is an advanced copy. Now that is if there's no delays, rather. Let's put it that way. Here's what the spine looks like, and the back. The book retails for $100. The big question, let's go ahead and answer it. It is the size of every other Marvel omnibus. It is not bigger. I know there were rumors. I think even Ed Piskor himself had tweeted something about the omnibus being oversized. So it is not as tall or as big as the Treasury Edition. It is your standard Marvel omnibus trim size. So that is something to keep in mind. So what does this collect? Let's look at it and then talk about what Grand Design is. It was originally released in comic book format over 6 issues. And then each one of those 2 issues were collected in these Marvel Treasury editions. So here we have Volume 2, Volume 1, and of course, my favorite cover, Volume 3. It's when the Reavers hung up Wolverine. So, of course, there's the cover to Volume 1. The spine has Volume 3, and then the back has Volume 2. But underneath the dust jacket is just the X sitting there, that cross that we would see in the Outback years. So, X-Men Grand Design by Ed Piskor. Let's take a look at this omnibus. Okay, let's open this up. Big fan of those bookend pages. Love the design. Those little Marvel boxes that they would keep in the corner. This is a really cool way of doing it. I love the way that the credits are getting more and more creative. So here you have the collected editions editors. There you have David Gabriel. That's Jennifer Grunwald. All the people that were able to put this together. On the right here, you have the table of contents. So the book is 488 pages, by the way. And to answer the other big question that I'm sure I'm going to have is, what's the paper type? What kind of paper are they using? Well, to be honest with you, it feels exactly like the paper quality in the Treasury edition. As a matter of fact, it feels a little thicker. I'm not sure if that's just my mind playing tricks on me or not, but it feels like it's just a little bit thicker than what you have in the Treasury editions. Of course, the artwork looks a little bit smaller from the Treasury edition, but these were originally released in comic book size format. Now, what the heck is this book about? What is Grand Design? Well, as I mentioned, it was a 6-issue miniseries, and it was wonderful. So, what Ed Piskor was able to do, by the way, Ed Piskor is the same guy that did the Hip Hop Family Tree, and he did WYSIWYG. He has his own YouTube channel, but this guy is a fan that I both love and hate. I love because he's exactly like I am when it comes to X-Men. He remembers everything, whether it was a retcon, whether it happened originally, or whether it was during an X-Men Classic issue. He remembers everything as part of the real historical events that happened in X-Men history. Why I hate it is because this is the exact same idea I had like 15 years ago. I was like I need to write down the chronological events of X-Men history starting from the beginning. But not from X-Men 1, right? Where most people start. No, what he does is start. So it all kicks off with the Watcher, who is telling the story. There's this variant of Stan Lee. That is awesome. And then it goes through a series of chronological events, such as the big fight between the Submariner and the original Human Torch in New York. So all these things that happened before X-Men 1, the coming of Magneto, Wolverine fighting alongside Captain America, all this stuff was shown like originally in like issue Uncanny X-Men 268. The fight with Magneto was originally shown in those classic X-Men issues. Professor Xavier when he was a kid with Juggernaut. So it does it in that order. It doesn't kick off with issue 1. So it shows what was happening with all the other X-Men during this time. And it is such a unique way of doing it because he takes every retcon and everything from, like I said, the classic X-Men run and adds it in here, such as like when Scott Summers and Alex Summers get thrown off of the ship. with their mom and dad in there with Corsair and his wife, and then it shows what happens to Corsair and his wife, right? Like it shows the actual Shi'ar part. You didn't see this until years later. And it's all done in chronological order. I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat myself. That is so much of a task to have put together and then to make it an enjoyable comic for people that have not read X-Men. Oh, it's great. You know, we're talking about in order who met who and then what events caused what actions later on in future issues. Everything is in here. You'll see Wolverine hanging out in World War II and what was happening in New York at the same time. You'll see the original 5 X-Men being formed and what Mr. Sinister was up to, or where Moira was during this whole time. It is a dream project that I'm very jealous of because I wish I had worked on it. So Ed Piskor, my hat's off to you. Let's keep going with this book. To me, it is a wonderful way of going back and looking at all these stories, right? Like, to me, these stories bring back so many memories, and you're like, oh, that's right. That's exactly the way that it happened, or that's the way that it was retconned to happen. Now, that's for somebody that's been reading X-Men for 35 years, right? So what does it mean for somebody that has never picked up an X-Men comic? I think this is a great way to get people caught up on X-Men. I think before House and Powers of X came out, I was strongly suggesting picking up the Treasury editions because it literally catches you up with everything. Yes, it goes by really quick, but you have such a bigger understanding of who the X-Men are and what their characters have been through, like Magneto, the aging, and why he is the way that he is, why sometimes he's good or sometimes he's evil. So that's why I recommend the series to either people that have read X-Men, that have made X-Men their lives, or people that are new to the genre, new to X-Men. Now, this only gets us all the way up until the formation of the Gold and Blue team, but it goes further than that, because if y'all remember, we have alternate futures or possible future storylines like Days of Future Past. So I will leave it at that for people that have not read it, because that part to me was really cool, how he was just able to keep going past where he was originally supposed to stop. Here, let's see, that's the coming of Dazzler, so we're getting into the Dark Phoenix, or the Phoenix Saga, which led into the Dark Phoenix Saga. So he hits all those points. I love it. The only thing that he didn't hit upon, though, was, of course, Adam X, the Extreme. The fact that he was supposed to be the third Summers brother, but that all got retconned by Vulcan, so I guess that makes sense why it was left out. And honestly, Gambit was supposed to be the third Summers originally, but hey, you know what? That was a Chris Claremont story, so it doesn't matter anymore. Well, it matters to people like me, right? Okay, so then we have what we had in the original Marvel Treasury editions. We have the reprint of X-Men #1 with this paper right here, this type of paper. And it's funny to look at these issues like that, because we're going to look at Giant Size #1, right? So the paper has been yellowed on purpose, aged on purpose. And then we have this issue right here, one of my favorite issues. As a matter of fact, I've got this one signed by Jim Lee, Chris Claremont, and I think Scott Williams. And it feels so weird to be looking at it like this, with this type of paper, because, you know, we have it in the Jim Lee XXL, we have it in the Jim Lee Omnibus, and in those volumes, the artwork is touched up and cleaned up, so the freaking colors pop out. In this, it is purposely reprinted in this type of paper to make it look like it's aged, so this would have been like somebody that didn't take care of their comic books, right? Most of us. But I find it really interesting and weird at first to get used to looking at it like this instead of like this. As a matter of fact, I think my original copies look better than this. And then we get to the back here, where we look at the extras. And one of the things, so this is talks about him, his dream project, how he used to sketch X-Men when he was a kid. His mom did the same thing. These are all old drawings of his, at Piskor, that is. So he is a self-taught artist. And I think he is one of the best, like, to me, like, 15-year-old me would not have dug this art style, right? Like, I'm like, oh, what is this independent crap in my X-Men comics? But me, as a 42-year-old man, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is exactly the way the art style I would have picked to retell the story of the X-Men. Oh, man, look at that, the traitor. Anyway, so let's look in here. Here's all the variant covers, and then we have the complete Grand Design script. But most of the time when comic books or collections give you the script to a certain issue, it's just the written word. Ed Piskor literally wrote the script this way, with panel layouts, the way that he was going to put them in the book. So that is freaking awesome. And it's the entire script. It's all in here. The one thing, and I mean the one thing that I wish... Oh, he even has the cover designs. Okay. The one thing that I wish they had added... I had no idea he did a Major X variant. There's about the author. The one thing I wish they had added that it's not in here, and it's also not in the Treasury edition, that would have helped people like me. I love this stuff because it's historical, right? Is the actual indexes. So at the end of each original issue when they were coming out, for example, at the end of issue 1, there was an index, and the index would tell you where these stories took place, where these retcons originally took place, whether it was issues of Fantastic Four, Classic X-Men, Avengers, Uncanny X-Men, X-Factor, whether it was retcon later on in Uncanny X-Men 284, whatever it was, they would put an index here. And I think that, as somebody that sees X-Men like a part of their history, right, like myself, I would have loved to have seen that in here somewhere. But, again, they didn't add it. And I don't know why they decided to take it out. Because, like I said, it's not in the Treasury editions either. It's only found in the original comic books. And that, to me, sometimes is a lot more fun to go back and forth with the artwork and looking at that index to see where these stories originally took place. But... like I said, that's just me being a completist and wanting everything. Here's some pinups by Arthur Adams, of course, and Joe Madureira. Now, let's look at the binding now that we've seen all the extras and the paper quality. I'm sure you could tell that it is sewn binding, and there is your eye. Now, you can purchase either the Omnibus when it comes out on August 26th or the original Marvel Treasury Edition versions from our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the contents of the book, the build of the omnibus, and the page count. And I also did that comparison to the original Treasury editions. Please let me know in the comments down below if you're picking this up, if you have the Treasury editions, if you're upgrading to this, what do you think of the size? I would love to know all those comments down below. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We can be found on Patreon and Redbubble. All of that information is in the description down below, and thank you to our existing patrons. More importantly, please everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and much love to all of you.